Welcome, crypto fam, to No. 1 Daily Bitcoin Pod. In today's show, I'll be sharing the latest technical analysis. Bitcoin hash rate hits a new all-time high. Also, Texas Bitcoin Reserve hearing symbolic move for crypto. I'll be breaking down this report, as well as Javier Milei risk impeachment after endorsing the multi-billion-dollar Libra rug pull. Womp womp. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin analyst Plan B transfers his Bitcoin to the ETFs to avoid hassle with keys? Very interesting. I'll be sharing my 2 Satoshis on this. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin's giant megaphone pattern sets a $270,000 to $300,000 Bitcoin price target in play, as well as Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund reports owning $455 million worth of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF in their latest ETF filing. And also, Nayib Bukele, president of the free world over in El Salvador, Bitcoin country, recently met with Saylor and Max Keiser to discuss Bitcoin adoption. And quoting David Bailey, Abu Dhabi has gone in much bigger than today's filing. There's a couple of other GCC members that are making the big moves. Was hoping this would be announced at Bitcoin Mania, but they weren't already, which means more countries in the Middle East stacking the biddy. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. If you're new to the channel, very important to smash the likes. Go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell icon, turn on all notifications to receive daily premium crypto newsletters every single day, 7 days a week, just like this. Today is pod episode 1907. I'm your fearless host, JV, and Satoshi save me through God, of course. And today is Sunday. I'll be preaching the holy gospel of Satoshi, as we do each and every day. Church is officially in session. Shout out to all my Bitcoiners out there holding it down. Happy 420 in advance. We got 430 people on the stream, 7 minutes from 420 here in Puerto Rico. But anyways, let's kick it off with our market watch as we do each and every day. You should be able to see on your screen, we got Coin 360 pulled up. We got Bitcoin correcting, but barely. Only down about 0.33% on the day, trading just above 97,300 at the time of the live stream. Ether barely in the red, XRP barely in the red. We got Tron and BNB in the green. And checking out coinmarketcap.com. The current crypto market cap is sitting at 3.21 trillion. The Bitcoin market cap, 1.925 trillion. We got roughly 57 billion worth of volume in the past 24 hours, meaning volume's down 22% on the day. And the Bitcoin dominance is right on the cusp of 60% at 59.9% according to CoinMarketCap, with the Ether dominance at 10.1%. Checking out top 100 crypto gainers in the past 24 hours. We have Cake leading the pack, followed by Sonic and Tron, but very modest gains as the majority of the market is correcting and in the red. And checking out the crypto bubbles, we get a visual perspective on the day. As you can see, the bulk of the market in the red, I'd say 80-20 red over green. And zooming out on the monthly, 90-10 red over green, but a lot of these alts correcting massively, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus %. And checking out the Crypto Geek Inventory Index. Today we're 54 neutral, yesterday a 50, last week at 46, and last month at 75 in greed. And checking out the time chain calendar, we are on block height number 884,059. We have 165,941 blocks until the next halving in 2028. And you can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,030 sats. So stack the sats, put down the gats, and pick up some Bitcoin caps from my man Sergio over at Bitcoin Caps. .net. Let's dive into today's technical analysis, aka astrology for the broskies. But first, I want to share some of the breaking news for some tweets I have pulled up for you. Bitcoin price follows the hash. As you know, new all-time highs in play, a new record Bitcoin computing mining hash rate, which means the Bitcoin network is more secure than it's ever been. I don't even know. I'm not even going to pretend to understand how to pronounce this number because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 commas. If one of you guys know how to say that number, let me know. And checking this out, this is breaking news. Senator Ron Paul, or I don't know if it's Rand Paul, calls for Elon Musk's Doge to audit the U.S. gold reserves at Fort Knox to ensure it's still there. My 2 Satoshis tell me I highly doubt the Fort Knox gold reserves are still there because, and I mean all of it, because unlike the Bitcoin network, which gets audited every 10 minutes, TikTok next block, gold has not been audited in over 60 years. So smart move from Elon. And do you think they'll actually ever do that? or do you think they won't because they're hiding something? You let me know your 2 Satoshis. And yeah, we'll pull up some of the live charts here for you guys via TradingView, via Coinbase. And again, welcome everyone just joining the live stream. Here we have the live charts pulled up. Happy 420. It is 420 here in beautiful Puerto Rico. And here you have it. On the 1 hour chart, we have a very bullish 106,000 target awaiting, which you can clearly see in the blue. And right under that, we have another bull target sitting just shy of 104,000. Again, all on the hourly chart. Zooming out from the hourly, we'll take a quick look at the 4 hour. And the 4 hour says it's going up forever, JV. And as you can see, we have the orange super bull target of 130. Current all-time high is 109.3, which means when we enter 109, we'll re-enter price discovery. And the next leg up, in my humble opinion, will be somewhere between 120 and 130,000. Let me know if you agree or disagree. We also have another bull target sitting at 104,000 on the 4 hour chart. And then there's some bear targets, but who cares about what the bears think? You feel me? And zooming out on the daily, we are in a bull, obviously, so who cares about the bear? Rising wedgie formation sensation on the daily, and zooming out for the weekly, we'll still have the sexy cup and handle target, which has been on here for months. You can see sitting at $124,000 in the pinkish red. When do you think we'll hit that? My 2 Satoshis is telling me before the end of quarter 1, which means before the end of March, meaning we're in the thick of it. We're halfway through Q1 right now. And zooming out from the weekly, take a quick look at the 1 month, and the 1 month chart shows you thus far for the month of February has been a little bearish. Last month for January, we did close in the green, and then December was a corrective itty bitty red, and then November we had the big Godzilla Bitcoin candle appreciation of roughly 30,000 via fiat, which was the biggest monthly candle close we have ever seen since the inception of the Genesis block. And if you don't know, now you know. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Where do you feel the price action likely to take us next? What are your targets for the end of Q1 or the end of February? Let me know. We're going to be discussing Texas adoption. Texas Bitcoin Reserve hearing, symbolic move for the crypto. That's right. The Texas Senate is set to hold a public hearing on February 18th. That would mean Tuesday, to discuss the establishment of the Bitcoin Reserve. But market analysts say the move may be largely symbolic unless the state announces an immediate investment plan. Well, fingers crossed, broskies. The first public hearing for the establishment of a potential strategic Bitcoin reserve in Texas is scheduled February 18th, this Tuesday, less than a week after the bill was received by the Secretary of the Senate. Getting ish done. According to the Texas government website, as outlined right here on your screen under Bill SB 21. That's a blackjack, baby. Despite being a positive step for the Bitcoin adoption, the hearing may only represent a symbolic move for the crypto markets. Texas considering Bitcoin as a reserve asset is another chess move in the Bitcoin march towards institutional legitimacy. But state-level initiatives often make ripples, not waves, compared to the ETF inflows or corporate treasury allocations. Quoting them here, unless the hearing unveils a near-term purchase plan or a major policy shift, the market's response will likely be mild, as Texas's pro-crypto stance is already well known. Let me know if you agree, disagree with that. Bitcoin has lacked the upside momentum, trading under the 100,000 psychological mark for the past 9 days. Since February 7th, in the near term, Bitcoin will remain pressured by the ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and China, according to Vugar, chief operating officer over at Bitget, quoting him here, while this headwind remains in the market, where President Trump eyeing more tariff hikes in the coming week, Bitcoin traded with resilience. And with the U.S. retaining its stance as the largest capital market, geopolitical tensions may continue to witness the headwinds for the bitty. And while positive news around the Bitcoin Reserve legislation is a welcome sign of continued institutional adoption, or as I say, institutional FOMO like a mofo, Bitcoin's trajectory is mainly driven by the U.S. Fed's monetary policy path. As they outline here, crypto markets tend to price in expected developments, and while this hearing may add to Bitcoin's long-term adoption story, macro forces like the Fed policy and regulatory shifts remain the real power players in shaping the Bitcoin trajectory. I dare say Bitcoin's on its own trajectory, and Bitcoin doesn't need nobody. We need the bitty, and that goes for the politicians, the countries, the sovereign wealth funds, all that. Texas's push for the Bitcoin Reserve reflects the broader economic and political shift other states are also implementing. Similar legislation, you got Kentucky, became the 16th U.S. state to introduce legislation aimed at establishing the Bitcoin Reserve, allocating up to 10% of the excess state reserves in digital assets. And now there's roughly 30 U.S. states proposing some form of Bitcoin adoption, whether it's a strategic reserve or for the treasury or for the pension fund or the sovereign wealth funds, etc. So sign of the times as the global hash wars continue around the world. But let's continue with the news. Here's the latest with Javier Milei. I'm sure you've heard the news we touched upon yesterday. Javier Milei, who is the president of Argentina, risked impeachment after endorsing a 107 million Libra rug pull, which led to billions of dollars being wiped out of the market cap within minutes upon launch, which is mind-boggling to say the least. But let's break this down and then I'll provide some Satoshi insights for you. Argentine President Milei is facing calls for impeachment after endorsing a crypto project that collapsed in what analysts are calling a massive insider scam. Womp womp. The Solana native Libra token started its rally on Valentine's Day, February 14th, shortly after Milei posted about the project on X, formerly Twitter. His now deleted post, why are we deleting posts here, Javier, included a website and contract address for the token, which was a private project dedicated to encouraging the growth of the Argentine economy. I mean, here's the receipts right here. Javier Milei posted this clearly, as you can see. Now, the Libra token briefly rose to a peak market cap of $4.5 billion at 10:30 p.m. February 14th, before falling over 94% to a $257 million market cap in just 11 hours since the token debuted for trading on decentralized exchanges, according to the DEX screener data. And here's an actual picture of their chart, the all-time chart, which, oh my God, depressing. Milei may now face the risk of impeachment. Was it worth it, Javier? After Argentina's fintech chamber acknowledged that the case may be a rug pull, clearly looks like one. Quoting Reuters, this scandal, which embarrasses us on the international scale, requires us to launch an impeachment request against the president. Interesting. And that was according to the opposition lawmaker Leonardo Santoro. And after the token's collapse on February 15th, the following day, Milei issued a statement noting he was not aware of the details of the project when he endorsed it, and that he has no connection whatsoever with the private enterprise that launched the token. This is why you don't put your name on anything besides Bitcoin, because it's destined to be rugged. It's destined to fall apart, and people are destined to be wrecked. And that's precisely what just happened here, and some people just never seem to learn their lesson. Milei also added that his political opponents will look to take advantage of it. Well, of course they will. Quoting him here, to the filthy rats of the political caste who want to take advantage of this situation to do harm, I want to say that every day they confirm how vile politicians are, and they increase our conviction and kick them in the ass. You know, every time you point a finger at someone else, there's 10 fingers pointing right back at you, Javier. I mean, come on now. But anyways, as requested, Milei, the anti-corruption office, is going to investigate all the government members, including the president himself, for potential misconduct, according to their statement on X issued by the presidential office. The statement also revealed that Milei held a meeting with KIP protocol representatives on October 19, 2024 in Argentina, where the company informed him of the Libra blockchain project and its aims to finance the private ventures of the country. Milei also met with a mysterious crypto entrepreneur, Hayden Mark Davis, at Casa Rosada, Jan 30th. Who was presented to the president as an infrastructure partner of the project, quoting the KIP project. Right here, all information gathered during the investigation will be handed over to the courts to determine whether any of the companies or individuals linked to the KIP protocol project committed a crime. And despite Milei deleting his initial endorsement, at least 8 insider wallets linked to the Libra team managed to cash out $107 million worth of liquidity. Definitely not a good look. This was doomed from the very beginning. This included $57 million in USD coin and 249,000 Solana worth $50 million, according to Look on Chain. Insider wallet started cashing out on the token only 3 hours after it debuted for trading. Kind of reminds me of the Hawk Tua launch, causing it over a 94% decline. So as you can see, definitely not a good look. And now for some insights. I actually put up this poll yesterday. I got 107 votes, and there's still 6 hours left. If you want to contribute to the vote, you'll notice it on my timeline on X. But I said, Javier Milei, is he controlled opposition? Is he Bitcoin incompetent? Is he a shitcoiner, or all the above? 49.5% of you say all the above. 24% of you say he's just a shitcoiner. 19% say he's just incompetent when it comes to Bitcoin. And 6.5% of you say he's just controlled opposition. Now, here's a very powerful, actually, and then I have that one pull up. It might be back here. Let me see here. I guess I don't have it. I may have took over it. But anyways, Jameson Lopp had something stating, and I'm going to paraphrase him, but something like, if presidents of countries are launching their own meme coins to rug people and get people wrecked, then do you not think that the government will confiscate the Bitcoin through the ETF? And I'm paraphrasing, but that was the quote. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. He also put here, Trump tweeted, "He who saves his country does not violate any law," which is a very profound quote. And I couldn't agree more with Trump. But Jameson Lopp, some great insight here. Prove it, Trump. Pardon Snowden. We all know Edward Snowden is one of the good guys, and that he was exposing crimes our own government was committing. So if this quote is true from Trump, we need to pardon Edward Snowden and also Julian Assange. I just want to throw that out there. And until that happens, this is not true in the United States of America. But I digress. Let's discuss these Bitcoin ETFs. Plan B transferred his Bitcoin to the ETF to avoid a hassle with keys. And this was actually the quote I wanted to share from earlier. You think presidents of countries will rug pull you with meme coins, but they won't seize your Bitcoin held by custodians? And I think he makes a fantastic point. I think people give the U.S. government way too much credit and trust. And to me, it will never make sense why you trust your government who threw us underboard frickin' decades ago. So shout out Jameson Lopp. I think the same exact way. And it's Max Keiser who's been predicting that they will seize the Bitcoin ETF BTC. Especially when you got presidents rug pulling you through shitcoinery, which is precisely what we've been witnessing in the market. Yeah, I mean, so here's what he also wrote. When you self-custody Bitcoin, you're strengthening the network. Facts. When trusted third parties hold your Bitcoin, you weaken it. I think he makes a great point there. But let's dive a little deeper into Plan B. He revealed he moved all of his Bitty from self-custody into the Bitcoin ETF in an effort to manage his Bitcoin the same way as traditional assets, which really defeats the purpose of holding Bitcoin in the first place. But I digress. Quoting him here. I guess I am not a maxi anymore, he shared, explaining that he moved his Bitcoin into spot Bitcoin ETFs so he can manage his holdings more like equities and bonds without the complexities of self-custody. Is self-custody really that complex? I think not. But let me know your thoughts, broskies. Not having a hassle with the keys gives me peace of mind. I think the opposite. If I didn't hold my own private keys, I wouldn't have any peace of mind because I don't trust the government. I don't trust the custodian. I don't trust BlackRock. I don't trust none of these clowns. But that's just me. But anyways, while Bitcoin maxis insist users should always control their own private keys instead of holding their Bitcoin on centralized exchanges, self-custody comes with the responsibility of keeping those keys safe from hackers. It's really not rocket science, broski. Thieves and other bad actors. But this was the official announcement. And when I first read it, my first two Satoshis is like, oh, it's probably April Fool's. And then I'm like, wait, JV, check the calendar. We're still in fucking February. That's not an April Fool's joke. He's being serious. He transferred his Bitcoin into the ETFs. Oh my God, nacho keys, nacho cheese. But anyways, Lucas Keefley, Chief Investment Officer of Yield App, shared that from a returns perspective, spot Bitcoin ETFs, future ETFs, and direct Bitcoin investments are essentially the same thing. Not. With the only difference being the management fees associated. It's not the same thing because if you don't own the private keys, you don't own the Bitcoin. Whoever the custodian is. All you have is an IOU that says you own the Bitcoin. So it's not the same thing. I got to make that clear. Plan B received mixed feedback from his 2 million followers after the announcement. He admitted he had no idea the Bitcoin ETFs were so controversial. Is he living under a rock? I just find this whole thing hard to believe. He wrote, in my view, ETFs are the logical step in Bitcoin adoption, next to holding your own keys. Out of curiosity, would it be different in your opinion if I were to have bought MicroStrategy instead of an ETF? Or would that be equally evil? Dan Held chimed in, that's not about being a maxi or not. It's about the individual decision of having an asset in your control or not. Do you trust yourself or do you trust someone else? And clearly, this guy doesn't trust himself. I mean, I can't make any more out of it. Thank you, Dan Held. Now, some users question whether the transfer would trigger a taxable event. Plan B said that selling isn't taxable in his case since his tax residents are in the Netherlands where there's no capital gains tax on realized gains. Instead, there's an unrealized capital gains tax, otherwise known as a wealth tax. The government assumes you make 6% return on your entire wealth and you pay 30% tax. Damn. So you pay 2% of your entire net worth every year. Good Lord. Bitwise investment chief manager Matt Hoogan said that U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs could be on track to see over $50 billion of inflows this year. So far, so good. Spot Bitcoin ETFs pulled in $5 billion in January, which annualizes to $59 billion in December. Hoogan and Bitwise head of research predicted the Bitcoin ETF inflows would surpass those of 2024. But I'm going to read this quote one more time. You think presidents of countries will rug pull you with meme coins, but they won't seize your Bitcoin held at custodians? I mean, let me know if that resonates with you guys. And let me know either way. I mean, to each their own. You do have the right of free will. I mean, you want a custodian or an exchange centralized to hold your Bitcoin, which defeats the purpose of why Bitcoin was created in the first place. We're here to cut out the middleman, but I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts and I'll read these comments out loud. But what we should be discussing here is the 270 to 300,000 Bitcoin price target. That's right, the bullish megaphone pattern. Let me know if you're familiar with the megaphone bull pattern, also known as the broadening wedge. Forms when the price creates a series of higher highs and higher lows. As a technical rule, a breakout above the pattern's upper boundary may trigger a parabolic rise. And this is an example of a parabolic rise, sending us to 300,000 per coin. Back in November, Bitcoin broke above the pattern's upper trend line and has since consolidated above it. Lagan's chart highlights base 1, base 2, base 3, base 4. Step-like accumulation structures supporting the orderly price discovery process before the Bitcoin parabolic ascent. Here's an example. Base 1 marked the end of the bear market at the megaphone's lower boundary. Base 2, a bear trap that shook out the weak hands before the biddy reclaimed support. Base 3, a price expansion phase, confirming the step foundation with the higher highs. And base 4, the final consolidation before the breakout, signaling that price discovery is well underway. Send it. And here you can see in the chart, the parabolic curve, step-like formation sensation, sending the pretty little biddy above 300 Gs. Now, meanwhile, the Elliott wave theory projects Bitcoin's breakout targets, mapping the price trajectory following successive accumulation phases within the megaphone pattern. His analysis suggests Bitcoin is now on wave 5, the final and often most parabolic phase of an impulse wave. And as a rule, wave 5 tends to extend to the 1.618 to 2.x, the wave of the length, or wave 3, aligning with the Fibonacci base price targets inside the 270 to 300,000 price range by 2025. You let me know your thoughts. Do you think we'll likely hit 270 to 300,000 this year in 2025? Holla. Now, an analyst compared the Bitcoin trajectory to the goal historic rise, suggesting Bitcoin can follow a similar path as high as 400 Gs, which is right in alignment with JV's base case 420 for the broskies. Using the power law model, yeah, of course, this normalizes against the gold market cap. The analyst noted the Bitcoin has never moved more than 5 years ahead of the trend line, indicating further upside potential. The bullish outlook is largely driven by the biddy's increasing adoption as a treasury asset amongst the companies, mirroring gold's role as a store of value. And what's the gold market cap at today's price? Probably between 17-20 trillion. Holla, let me know. Even traditional financial giants like Italy's Intesa Sanpaolo have begun integrating the Bitcoin into their holdings. Let's go Italy, signaling growing institutional confidence in the biddy as a legitimate asset class. Historically, gold has been the safe haven asset for the governments and institutions, and Bitcoin is now being positioned similarly, especially with President Trump considering a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But let's all hope he doesn't turn it into the shitcoin reserve. And looking further ahead, Timothy Peterson predicts Bitcoin can surge to 1.5 million by 2035. Why so bearish, Timothy? Citing the network growth and historical adoption curves. Meanwhile, ARK Invest CEO, the one and only Cathie Wood, always up to no good, expects Bitcoin to reach the same price target of 1.5 million by 2030. Let me know if you agree, disagree with Cathie Wood and the rest of the family and the 400,000 megaphone target. Now for our feature story of the day. Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund reports owning 455 million plus worth of the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF in their newest SEC filing. I'm going to break this down for you. Also, as you can see in this headline, Nayib Bukele and Michael Saylor, Stacey Herbert, and Max Keiser just met at the Bitcoin office over in El Salvador. And I'm also going to give you the latest from Max Keiser, who recently tweeted, Max and Stacey strike again. The Mideast dam of demand has burst. $1 trillion buy orders on tap. I repeat, $1 trillion buy orders on tap. God candle incoming. $2.2 million biddy in play. Also, as you can see here, David Bailey, CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, wrote, Abu Dhabi has gone in much bigger than today's filing, meaning they own a lot more Bitcoin than they're even announcing. There is a couple of other GCC members that are making moves too. Was hoping this would be announced at the Bitcoin MENA conference, but they were not ready. And remember when we told you there's insiders, we have information, big buys are happening in the Middle East, that oil money is going right into the biddy. We weren't telling any lies. We have the insights, and we're just sharing what we know. Max also tweeted here, Bitcoin country requires fighting on two fronts. Number one, building a strategic reserve to prepare for the self-destruction of the fiat money entrenched monopolists like the US dollar pushing central banking cartels and the global scammers like the IMF, World Bank, and USAID. Number two, to prevent shitcoinery and shitcoiners from entering the country by any means necessary. And El Salvador is the most successful country fighting this two-front world war. Bitcoin, and it looks like wannabe countries like Argentina and the U.S. are losing. Fact, the world is heading to a Bitcoin standard. No fiat money, central bank, or globalist shit show like the IMF survives. Fuck the IMF. The Bitcoin office established the battle plan for El Salvador to win the global hash war in 2022, and the plan is working brilliantly. Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. Quoting Napoleon once again, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. Max also announced here the president has instructed his protocol team to clear his calendar for next year's Max and Stacy Invitational. And my understanding is tickets will go on sale again in May, and they'll probably sell out within 10 minutes. So make sure you're on the waiting list if you're not already. It's maxandstacyinvitational.com. And if you don't know, I attended their event this year about a month ago. It was February 10th and the 11th, and it was the greatest event I've ever been to for Bitcoiners. And you guys already know I talk about it all the time, but I love Max and Stacy and what they're doing in Bitcoin country, and I would not miss their event. If you get the opportunity to go, take advantage of it. And he even announces here, I just bought a sponsorship for Strategy as my personal guest. So what does that mean? Michael Saylor and Nayib Bukele are heading to the Max and Stacy Invitational 2026 in January. So I'm pretty stoked for that. I've never had the privilege of meeting Saylor or Bukele, and they're both on my bucket list. That would be a dream come true. So shout out Max and Stacy doing big things there in Bitcoin country. Now, also breaking news, Bhutan now owns $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's pretty big considering how small of a country they are. Nation states are here, and this is just who is willing to admit what they own at this current time. But let's dive deeper into the UAE and the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund accumulating hundreds of millions of dollars worth of the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, according to the new filings with the U.S. SEC. So it is official. Earlier, someone asked, how are you vetting this news that it's actually true? I mean, it's obvious. It's a done deal. They announced they stockpile $455 million worth of the asset management giant iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, which we know as IBIT. The UAE Wealth Fund was established all the way back in 1976 to promote economic stability and prosperity for the nation. Then in December, Reuters reported that the fund became the world's top wealth fund spender, passing even Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And since the launch of January of 2024, IBIT became the largest ETF by market cap based on flagship digital asset. And talking about the biddy. And in November, it was found that IBIT surpassed its gold counterpart in terms of the net assets, despite BlackRock's gold ETF launching nearly 2 decades earlier. To put that into perspective, the Bitcoin volume eclipsed that of gold with the ETF for the BTC. And it only took 1 year for Bitcoin to eclipse what took 2 decades for the yellow precious metal. Is it really that precious? I don't even know. And according to the recent Bloomberg report, BlackRock secured the commercial license to operate in Abu Dhabi just last year and said it did so to work and move more closely, working with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, wealth managers, and investment vehicles in the area. And as stated by Charles Hatami, head of the Middle East for the BlackRock, to Bloomberg, Abu Dhabi has rapidly transformed into a global financial center. Its strategic location, proactive government policies, and commitment to the sustainable growth make it an ideal location for the capital markets. Preach. And as you know, these gangsters, I mean that in a gentle way. Obviously, they're not criminal gangsters, but just Bitcoin gangsters. If you're to ask me, these are some of the biggest proponents for Bitcoin leading the world in Bitcoin adoption. They just met up. Nayib Bukele, Mikey Saylor, Max Keiser, Stacey Herbert. Yeah, the meeting of Bukele and Saylor was confirmed by the country's national Bitcoin office. They shared all the photos. However, the details of their conversation are top secret, but we know it's about supporting the Bitcoin and supporting Bitcoin country. Bukele and Saylor posted photos of their meeting on social media, with Saylor mentioning they discussed how El Salvador could help speed up the global Bitcoin adoption. I mean, there you have it. I mean, this man right here on the left, MicroStrategy, has close to 500,000 of the biddy, and the man on the right, obviously President Bukele, I believe their Bitcoin reserves are now surpassed 6,000 BTC, which is over like $500 million worth of the Bitcoin. Let's get into the more precise numbers. El Salvador added one more Bitcoin to his reserves, bringing its total to 6,077 BTC, worth 590 million. In addition, MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy B, purchased 7,633 Bitcoin, bringing its total to 478,740 of the biddy, worth over $46 billion. In 2021, El Salvador was the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender. But as you know, there's been a lot going on with the IMF. Bukele recently accepted a $1.4 billion deal, and then he started doubling down on his Bitcoin purchases. But it is voluntary if you do want to accept Bitcoin in Bitcoin country, just FYI. And I know from firsthand experience because I spent a week there and I was using Bitcoin when I was paying for my pupusas. And some of the vendors accept it, some of the vendors don't. But Bukele never forced people to only accept Bitcoin. You always had the option, US dollar, which is a currency, or Bitcoin, which is a currency. And then, of course, you have Tether USDT, which is considered it's considered a registered security. Then all the other altcoins and stable coins are considered unregistered securities and are illegal to promote in Bitcoin country. And if you don't know, now you know. The meeting may have covered topics like Bitcoin adoption, regulatory changes, investment opportunities, also discussing El Salvador's Bitcoin strategy amid the IMF conditions and the future of crypto payments in the country. I mean, those are the OGs. And of course, Max is calling for 2.2 million in play. He's been telling us this God candle incoming, $1 trillion buy orders on tap. Let that sink in, because all that the UAE just announced was roughly a $500 million buy. Could you imagine $1 trillion buy orders on tap? That means income and family. 2.2 million in play. Let me know if you agree, disagree with the high priest of Bitcoin, and what are your thoughts? Holla at your boy, and I'm going to read your comments out loud.